Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming. Here at Gerchick Real Estate, we take pride in having a good backbone of preferred vendors that really take care of our clients, you know, from attorneys all the way up to property managers. And today we're going to have Harry DeElia talk about the issues with tenants. You know, it's great to have multifamily properties because you have paying tenants, and then the downside of multifamily properties is you have tenants a lot of times. So Harry has a lot of experience dealing with tenants and going through the process of evictions, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So I'd like to welcome Harry.
We'll close the door.
Yeah.
Someone comes in, we can come in. Keep this one open. Thanks for coming today. Today's Linda asked me to talk about the Arizona eviction process. So I kind of label it today pay or pack. That's really the two decisions that a tenant has. You either pay or you pack. And it's kind of funny. My 13-year-old son came up with that because I always believe in teaching your kids how to, live life. So I take them with me. So he came up to me one day and he said, "Dad, really a tenant has two decisions, either pay or pack." I'm like, I like that. I like that.
I'm gonna write that down.
Anyway, Kids speak. I've been an agent since 2002. I've been doing this, 14 years now. Wasn't the normal agent. I was trained under 2 years under somebody. I've always worked with investors. I wouldn't even know what to do with a first-time home buyer. But I've been doing property management since 2008. Never thought I would love it, but my background is corporate America. I've done operations and sales. I worked with Toys R Us, FedEx, and I got my degree in software. So I kind of use all my skills now into property management. So recently I just opened up my own company called Real Estate and Beyond. So I thought it was important for me to kind of, because a lot of people don't understand property management, especially when you deal with a lot of property management companies or real estate companies or brokers. So we decided to open up our own shop. So that's what we do. I've been working with Linda for about 4 years now. I've known Scott and Mike quite a long time too. So we kind of interact with each other. A lot of times when Linda hands me a property, she'll call me once in a while and say, "Hey, how's so-and-so's property? What's going on?" So she does check in on me. And I kind of let her know what's going on. If there's any problems, I always let you know. My tagline is "Tenant Scary, Call Harry Today." I like marketing a lot, so I was in a class and one guy's like, "Well, what's your tagline?" I'm like, "Well, let's see.
Better come up with it.
Tenant Scary, Call Harry." They're like, "Hey, I like that." Anyway, that's my contact information. Again, today, pay or pack, we're going to learn more about the Arizona eviction process. I know you might have questions about the Arizona Landlord Tenant Act. If I don't know the answer, I'll get the answer for you. We can kind of have questions and answers after the presentation.
How recently has it been updated?
I believe it was just updated about 6 months ago. So if I get your contact information, I'll give you an update what's going on. So anyway, let's go right into the presentation today. We all have properties here. Now it's a good one when the tenant pays rent, right?
In all of them, David.
On all of them. It's good for this month. I deal with a lot of out-of-state owners that are actually managing the property from out of state. And I'm dealing with this one guy right now. He keeps going back and forth, and the tenant just keeps lying to him. And I keep telling him what's gonna happen. So he called me yesterday. He's like, "Harry, you're hired." He's like, I'm done dealing with it." I was like, "Well, I told you what was gonna happen, and it's exactly what happened." Because he's in California, she's in El Mirage. You gotta have physical presence. You know, I mean, you gotta have troops on the ground. Otherwise, tenants, they know they can get around it. He's actually working for the Navy Department. The lady actually got a cashier's check, and somehow it was a forgery. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's what you deal with. Now, many of you, when a tenant doesn't pay, a lot of owners feel they don't know what to do. A lot of us are nice people. I used to be that one. A lot of compassion, what's going on. I've learned to develop a fine line now. So I kind of, you know, it's a business transaction. Of course, you want to hear what's going on with the tenant. I'll always tell you what's going on, but ultimately I work for the owner. So I'll give you my advice, I'll tell you what's going on. I lived in the city for 6 years, so I kind of got a lot of street smarts. When you're dealing with people, you sort of have to have a combination of skills. You got to have a business skill, you got to know how to talk to people, but you also have to know how to be blunt. And that's what we do. I have a partner. How we work it is I do all the management, and my partner does all the leasing. And I have a full-time bookkeeper, I have an assistant, and I have a broker. What's nice about that is we work as a great team. We've been together for about 4 years now, all together. So basically I took everybody that I knew and I put it right into real estate and beyond. So it's the same people, it's just the name of the company. But it works out better, she does all the leasing. And then I do all the management. But mainly on this one is, what do you do when a tenant doesn't pay? Well, I'm going to pass this out. Here's a outline. Pass one over to her. That's kind of like the eviction outline. Thank you. I use Andy Hall here in the Valley. He's one of the best lawyers here in town. His website is drevictor.com. I don't recreate the wheel. All the forms, I use his forms. Because when I go to court, he knows his own forms. So, here are all the reasons why the tenant doesn't pay rent. These are the top reasons. I'm sure you can add to the list. Lost your job, or hours have been cut. There's been a divorce in the family. There's a death in the family. A lot of people, if you have, multifamily, some of your tenants are going to have government checks, and sometimes the checks don't come in on time. What do? I had one tenant. He comes to the office. He says, I don't have rent money. I said, why? He's like, well, I purchased the car to flip it, and I can't sell it. Yeah, we took him to eviction court, and we actually worked out a payment plan, so he's still a tenant. But every time I tell him, every time he comes and pays him rent, I said, don't flip cars anymore. This is a favorite one. When the tenant calls you and says you didn't do repairs, I'm gonna hold the rent for hostage situation. Medical emergency. I'm sure you can add a couple more. But basically it's pay or pack. So when this happens, each one's a different case. But the bottom line is, it's pay or pack each month. So what do? Here's what we do to collect rent. I'm sure you do the same thing. We call the tenant. We text the tenant. We email the tenant. Send out a certified 5-day notice. We do this religiously every month. We run a report. We try to do it between the 5th. What happens is, say the 5th lands on a Wednesday, but Friday is the 7th. I usually don't do the 5-day mails until Saturday. Because why? People get paid on Friday, and they pay rent. My office is so close, I can go in there and say, okay, who hasn't paid? And you kind of get a feel. You kind of know your tenants. I know everyone's name, and we just send them out. And what's nice about Saturday is, if you send them out Saturday, they get them Monday. And all of a sudden, you do get some people that will pay rent, and then you kind of go from there. We do call the employer. We always ask, hey, so-and-so there. We call their friends or family. And if that worst case scenario is we knock on the door. I'm not afraid to knock on the door. That's one thing my partner and I, we're kind of grown into that. We do a lot of C-class properties. A lot of times when Linda's doing fourplexes and all that, usually it's in South Phoenix, Sunny Slope, in areas like that. We don't mind. We have a Spanish-speaking person that we have access to. So, a lot of times, it's just a matter of, I had one Spanish-speaking person, he wasn't paying his rent on time, and I warned him, It was one of Linda's clients, and they're from California, and I took him to court. I won the judgment. He came in the office 2 weeks ago, and just because you win the judgment doesn't mean they automatically leave. You can always work out a deal. I'm always trying to work out deals for you as owners. So I ended up collecting the rent, the late fees, and I made a promise to pay for the lawyer cost. So now we made an agreement that he's going to be paying rent every month on the 6th. So we did the lease because that's why he gets paid and all that. Sometimes you just gotta you gotta put the line in the sand. You gotta let people know that you mean business. So we're the best of friends. So he wants to stay there. You just gotta show him the right way. So anyway, when this is all exalted, what do you do next? This is pretty much the Arizona eviction process. It all starts with the certified mail. This is your best friend. I don't argue anymore. I used to take this personally. We all seen one of these, right? These are your best friends in court.
Sorry.
If you don't want to confront somebody in person that you know that's confrontational, what I do is instead of running around Phoenix, because I got properties all over, I just certify mail it. And it's so easy. Just certify mail it. If they refuse to pay, just send them to court. And then the judge will say, "Did you pay rent?" "No." Judgment.
Well, how do you get around if they don't sign for the certified mail?
Good question.
It takes 10 to 12 days for you to get the notice back.
Good question. What happens is, so you send out the 5-day notice. You gotta wait. 5 days. You gotta add an additional 5 days if they don't pay rent. I have a calendar on here in one of the slides, and I'll show you. Yeah, back and forth. I just wanted to show you the process. I mean, you three probably know the process, but I just wanted to let you know what the process is. So you send out the 5-day notice, say it's the 5th. On the 15th, if they still haven't paid, then you're able to send in, do the eviction. Forcible detaining failure to pay rent. Then you set the court date is set. Once they set the court date, most of the judges will give them 5 to 7 days to move out. If they still haven't moved out by that time, then you got to do a writ of restitution. That means it's an additional cost. You got to get the constable involved. Luckily for you, I pretty much know every constable in town. I'll give you an example. Last week, Linda, I got a new investor, the 3 4-plexes. They're down in McDowell on the streets. I got the email last Wednesday. Usually they can take up to like 5 or 7 business days to get back to you, right? I got a call the next day from Mr. Constable Doug Clark. He said, "Harry, how are we doing?" He's like, "I'm here at the property right now. What do you want me to do?" Usually I like to set up a time to change the locks, but I know him so well that he just posted the sticker. He jimmied the door. He got in there. He's like, it's vacant. So then my guy came back 2 hours later, changed the locks, and it was done. So a lot of this is a relationship with the constables in town. Because I try to secure the property as soon as possible. And Mr. Clark knows me, because with these guys, you got to show them respect, and they don't like you wasting their time. He knows if he would have called me, I would have had a guy there within 2 hours. So it's kind of the relationship. Now, while we're doing all this, I know I put this last, but your property is on the market right away. As soon as I know there's a problem, I put it on the market right away with the existing pictures that we had before we rented it out. Why do I do that? If I wait for this whole process to start, and then I finally get it rent ready and then market it, you're losing 2 or 3 weeks, if not 30 days. So if I started on the 5th, I'm marketing it on the 5th. So what's that, July? So right now, we're going into August. So now you call me and say, "I got the property back, now I'm getting the rent ready." I'll call you and say, "Hey, by the way, I've got 2 tenants that are interested in your property. Probably get in there by August 5th or August 10th. That saves you money. I mean, you're making money right away. I don't like properties sitting. When they're vacant, I don't like vacant properties. People can break into them, things can happen, the water breaks, and vacant properties are no good. So the calendar events, I just kind of put that calendar in there just to kind of give you a visual. You can get a person out within 30 days. It is possible.
Or sooner.
Or sooner. Now, when, if they do stay, that adds on an additional 5 or 7 days. But if you start on the 5th, forcible detainer, 5-day notice, and on the 15th, you send them into court, you get a court date the following Friday, and then tenant has given 5 days to move. If not, they got to move out in 5 to 7 days. If not, you can get a writ of restitution on the 29th, and then usually between that time and here, we can get them out.
Is rent due on the 1st? Are we
Yes.
assuming that? Okay.
Yeah, rent is always due on the 1st. We kind of give them a 3-day grace period in our lease. It all depends on the owner. A lot of times people, the 7 out of 10 people in America are broke. So they live paycheck to paycheck. What I found is, if there's one incident in their lives, whether it's a car accident, a loss of job, or something, I always tell the owner, don't go past a month when it comes to evictions. It's a business decision. They gotta have some money into the game. I had a person that came, I just took over property this month, or last month. Guy came into me and said, I lost my job. So I said, what kind of job do you have? A welder. Okay, well, you should be able to get a job. So what you can do is you can also do a payment plan, a partial payment plan, which is even better, because if you take money without a payment plan, then you gotta wait the following month to do the whole process over again. So what we do is, on your behalf, we work out payment plans. So he gave me $150 this week, and over his rent's like, I forgot, like $600. So the next 2 Fridays, he's supposed to give me $2.36 and some odd change. I said, will that work for you? He said, yes. I said, I can't go past this month with you owing rent. So he agreed to it. So if he doesn't pay me tomorrow, I can actually send him to court right away. I don't need to wait. I mean,
Because you've already filed.
no, well, I did the 5-day notice, but I accepted money. But I did a partial payment plan.
And
But
you
if-
have them sign that agreement?
Yeah, I have them
that
sign the
says-
agreement,
What's
yeah.
it called?
I call it a partial payment agreement.
Right.
A PTA, PPA, partial payment agreement. If they don't pay, you can use that document and you can,
So judges are used to seeing this
Yeah.
document.
Yes.
now if you take
Oh, yeah.
if you take the $150 without the agreement, even if you take $1, you gotta start the next month over. So a lot of times, tenants can pay online, and I get everything on my phone. I use a software system called PropertyWare. It's one of the top 3 in America. What I like about PropertyWare is I can manage anything. I can manage a single-family home, I can manage a condo, a commercial building, assistant daycare, living, whatever. It tracks everything, and everything, PropertyWare, it's PropertyWare.
.com?
Yeah, yes. The name of the company overall is RealPage. They just did a seminar this past week in Vegas, but they have so many reports and they have everything's online. Tenants can pay online. I like that. I mean, you'd be surprised if you own multiplexes downtown, people will pay online because they don't want to commute. My office is at Bell and 15th Avenue. It doesn't matter. We do the whole valley. We accept debit cards, payment online. They can use their checking account, debit account, credit card. The faster you can get money, the better for you as an owner, because that way there's less excuses. Of course, they can pay in the office physically. They can mail it, and then we have a drop box in the front too. So there's no reason why a tenant cannot pay rent. And there's sometimes we even pick up the rent for you. We don't tell you that, we don't charge extra for that, we could, but we don't. The thing is, you know, if we're in the area, and we kinda know our tenants, I mean, if we're there, we just pick it up. Bring it to the office, we send it to the bank, and then by the 15th, I'm starting to send you money. How I do it at my office is, if I know your tenants, I start sending money out around the 8th of the month. And on the 15th, I send it all. And of course, we all know tenants are not gonna pay all, you know, if you have multiple properties like you, I don't know how many properties you have, but say if you have 4 or more, are all of them gonna pay on time? We hope so, but if they don't, you know, if one doesn't pay until the 22nd or something, usually around the end of the month, I don't know, around the 26th or 27th, I send the rest to you. So you might get 2 installments. But this is a visual, I mean, I meet with a lot of California investors and they can't believe the process is so easy versus California.
It's terrible there. You can, the tenant can go to the doctor, get a letter that says he has asthma or a sore leg or something, and then they can stay for 6 months and not pay anything.
I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people like Arizona, why they invest here, is the first question they ask me, especially when I meet with a new investor, is how is your eviction process? How quickly can I get the tenant out without them paying, if they don't pay? And I just say I can get somebody out within 30 days, if sooner. Now, how many times do I have to call the constable? Not a lot, because once I get the eviction, then we kind of call the tenant each day and saying, look, we just want to do this peacefully. The thing is, you don't want them damaging your property, so there's kind of a respect there for human beings. We try to do as much as possible to respect and just say, look, this is the court agreement, you have to move. So what's the next plan? We need to get the keys. We actually have somebody who's interested in the property. We've actually rented it out. Most of the time they agree and then they just move. Now sometimes you have professional tenants. They're not going to move until you call the constable. And we kind of pretty much know those people. If they're not out by the 5th or 7th day or where the agreed upon time, I'll call you and say, look, this, you know, so-and-so didn't move out. I would advise to call the constable. I always leave it up to you. I work for you. I just did one last week. Actually, I have to do one today. You weren't here, but I told you, but I have a lady who's a hoarder. City of Phoenix, the owner's a lawyer. I've known him for 4 years now, and they sent a nastygram saying if you don't fix this, you either serve 6 months or jail or a $2,500 fine. So of course that got his attention. So I went down the next day, and it was, you know, we redid the wooden fence. That was a big thing, but the whole backyard was full of junk, and it still is. My guy's there right now. So I'm fixing the fence. I took her to court. I won. I gave her time, saying, "Look, well, let's work together. She hasn't improved. So today after this, I'm gonna go by there at 4 o'clock. If it hasn't changed, I'm gonna call the writ. I know she's got a lot of stuff. I'll just tell the constable, and look, just give her until the 1st to get out. And there's gonna be a lot of stuff there. So.
Do you have to put it into storage, or can you just, say?
If it's personal belongings, if it's garbage or something like that, no. But it's like furniture and stuff like that, I have to put it in storage, and she's got to pay for the storage.
Except, how does that happen?
How does what happen?
Her paying for storage?
If she wants her stuff back, she'd have to pay for the storage. You have to
You
notify
only have to
her.
give it a month or so.
21 days. And you have to let her know where her stuff is, and if she wants it, you have to give her the cost per day. I've only had to do that once.
Meanwhile, there's all this labor for boxing it up and
Yeah.
cleaning and.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
The tab gets higher and higher.
It does. And we try to, you know, we try to minimize your costs. We really do. I mean, we're mainly, a lot of times, you know, when I call you, I try not to be the bearer of bad news. I don't call you unless there's a problem. Because if you give me the properties and if everything's going fine and you're getting your monies and you're traveling to Mexico, you're traveling the East Coast and around the world, that's what you pay me for. If I keep calling you for answers or questions and stuff like that, you're probably thinking, why did I hire you? And I have a couple owners saying this, like, man, you're a lot different than other property managers. The other property manager kept asking me these stupid questions. I'm like, well, it's common sense. I mean, if I collect the rent, I pay you within the 15th, and then I keep going. If there's, you know, if there's any repairs or anything like that, then that's when I call you. Other than that, everything should be running like clockwork. That's what we try to do at our company. So, do you understand this process? Any questions in between there?
Well, that 5-day notice, is that, mean 5 days from, 5 days past due, or they get 5 days to
Good
pay
question.
back?
So,
What is that?
okay, so you give a 5-day notice on the 5th.
Which refers to
You're giving the tenant, you're notifying the tenant
that they're.
that they have to pay within 5 days.
Okay,
Now, if you
so they-
certify mail it, and if they don't pick it up, the worst case scenario is on the 15th, you have to give them 5 days plus another 5 days for, mail. So it's 10 days.
So it's better to just pay someone to deliver it in person. Put it on the door, it's legal still, isn't it?
Yeah, you can, yeah, the process servers are around 40, 50 bucks. You can do that too. A lot of times if I know if it's a problem tenant, I'll hand deliver it. But a lot of times, you know, when I know people are, you know, they're, you know, a lot of times if something happens in a month, at least you have that option, you have to give out that 5-day notice. Now, if you know a person's not paying, if you don't give out the 5-day notice, and if they don't pay it by the 15th, and you serve the 5-day notice on the 15th, then you gotta wait an additional 10 days. So I try to do it up between here. Like Saturday, I went out and did the 5-day notice. Just because Friday. But I did send some out that day, because I know, I kinda know my people. I know the trouble, you know, people have problem paying sometimes. So I'd send these out to scare them, and then they send out the rest right here. So I kinda send out 2 batches for you. But a lot of times I just send them out.
How many constables are there?
That's, you know, interesting. There's one for each district, so I don't know how many constables are. They're an elected official.
Yeah, I've seen signs out, but we've tried to
Oh, I'd
pick
love
people
to be
before. The constable couldn't even get over
Yeah,
there
I
for
would.
14 days. And then when he did get there,
Give her a bitch to
nobody's
come out.
there, or they don't answer the door, and he leaves. And it's like, well, what did I just pay you for? Because you got nothing done. The
Right.
tenant's still there, and now I have to reschedule you to come back, and you're telling me it's gonna be another 2 weeks.
And you have to pay him again?
Yeah.
That's where the relationship comes in.
Yeah. Jimmy the door and, yeah.
Because I've known Mr. Clark now for 8 years.
Okay, well, our manager knows some of these people.
Okay.
She's,
It all depends on the manager too. It's like you gotta keep calling the courthouse.
Break a window, we don't care.
Yeah, you gotta call the courthouse, you gotta meet these people. I just call them up, say, hey, Mr. Clark, I mean, he's kinda surprised me last week. He's like, Harry Delia, it's Doug Clark. I mean, I know it was Doug Clark because he's on my phone. He's like, I'm at the property right now, what do you want me to do? It's like, so put the sticker in there. And he actually called me back, he's like, yeah, I just wanna let you know, I actually got in there, it's vacant, tell your guy to change the locks.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Right.
But
So to answer your question, it's the relationship and how, you know, is your property manager taking care of you? You really have to, sometimes, yeah, it could take up to 14 days, some of these constables. But if you keep calling them, they'll say, oh, okay, just go.
yeah, I understand the squeaky wheel.
Persistence.
Yeah, you really do in property management. My background's operations, so I worked in retail and warehousing. So supply chain is always, I consider this the same way in property management. I can get one call right now and just change my day.
Yeah.
I want to do this today, and I got a phone call. Oh, I had a phone call, Tuesday? This guy says, oh, I'm back from a family emergency. I'm giving you my 30-day notice. I'm like, okay, you're still paying rent though, right? Well, no, you can use the security deposit. No, you can't do that. It's in your lease. The security deposit is after you move out. We do a move-out inspection. If there's no repairs and all that, then you get that back. I sent him to court. He's got a court date next Tuesday. I asked the owner, he's like, what would you do? I was like, you're taking his word that he'll be up by the end of the month. Well, what happens if he moves out August 5th? You just lost another week. Yeah, the thing is, I always tell owners, the judgment gives you the power. You can make a decision. You can kick them out, you can work a deal with them, or they can pay you. But if you don't have that judgment,